We're here with Max Bain, a 2020 indie ball signee with the Chicago Cubs. You pitched in South Bend last year. You absolutely shoved. You throw gas. We're really excited to talk about a variety of things. We're going to start, though. You just got off the mound, a little bit of a pen. You threw live on Monday. You felt pretty good. You said you were like 92, 94 with a 95 thrown in there.
Yeah.
It seems like you're throwing harder. I know we talked a little bit off cam that was kind of your off-season goal, was to get the velo up a tick or two. Has that come to fruition?
Yeah, I think so. One of the things that we talked about going in the offseason was just the ability to throw harder at an easier kind of rate of effort. That was one of those things in 2021 where I felt like I was trying really hard every single outing. And that's hard to do every fifth, sixth day. So if we can get the same output with a little bit easier effort, that's going to be more sustainable in the long run. So to be 2-4 today was awesome. Be up to 7 the other day was very cool. Yeah, man, just excited for the year.
How important is that data point during your bullpen? I saw you turn back to some of the guys logging data here and also some of the coaches, and I imagine you asked them like where you were sitting. Were you surprised to see that you were up that high on velo?
Yeah. Usually when you're going to have a good day. You can feel like that little bit of extra adrenaline rush and whatnot, and to be 2-4 today was a nice surprise, So yeah.
You mixed in a couple sliders, couple changeups off that, but primarily it was a fastball pen. Those two pitches, your secondaries here. I know you a little bit of a fastball focus and stuff, but those two pitches are things we've talked about a ton. Elite offerings, both of them. You've been working a ton on the changeup, though.
Yes.
And you told me that saved your season last year. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so it was kind of one of those things where obviously it doesn't take a genius to go look at my stats from last year and see I struggled a little bit with command. And just being able to locate that changeup throughout the year, it was something that I struggled with early on. But being able to locate that throughout the end of the year, I think was a huge dictator in eventual success that I had. So, working on that in pens and whatnot, just being able to check back and make sure I'm not like compensating or slowing down effort to make sure I'm getting the certain movement profiles and whatnot. I just want to make sure I'm doing everything at the same effort, just to get more game-like feel.
There's some guys who are field-based who don't even ever want to kind of see that data from what I've talked to, and then you seem like a guy that's much more into it.
Yes.
Why?
Why? Because it's unbiased. It's very black and white. I think, for people who know my story, they know that I've gotten away with a lot of gray area early on, even through college ball. So, since, we talked about how I signed an indie ball, since that time, it's been very black and white for me, and I think that's been a crucial part of my development. So the data for me is just very black and white. It doesn't lie. The Rapsodo, the TrackMan doesn't like me, so it's unbiased. So just being able to use that stuff and use it unbiasedly and be honest with myself, I think is the biggest thing.
Absolutely. Let's dig into that changeup a little bit. You said it saved your season. You brought it in. Yep. There's a lot of guys here that I know that go towards what you call like a Vulcan grip, which is kind of wedging it between those two fingers. Jordan Wicks said that he's a guy who just is on the tracks. He seems like a natural pronator. I know that's a bit of an advanced term, but what does that mean to you to know that you're able to spin the ball with a decent amount of RPMs and also be able to fade now with a changeup?
Yeah, well, it's one of those things, you talk about the Vulcan grip. It's for guys, it's kind of the last stop before a splitter. I've never really had the feel for that typical circle change or the 3-finger change, however you want to call it. So it was one of those things I adopted in late 2019. And it took about 18 months to throw for strikes, but it was 100% worth it. It's one of those things where I'm not a natural pronator, like you said. So to be able to have this grip, which is a little bit unorthodox, to be able to have this and be able to spin the ball how I want is definitely another weapon, right? Mm-hmm. Talk about good supination, that's good. And that allows for a good curveball, good slider. But being able to compensate for the lack of ability to pronate is huge. So.
Can we just run through like supination and pronation? And this is something that I know but like for the average person, give us like this spiel with the hand. Like, is it just as simple as turning your thumb inward?
If we're looking here, if I'm coming around, like if I'm throwing a curveball, rotating my wrist this way, if I'm throwing it this way, that's going to be your supination. But rotating, see, I have to like even compensate to get there. Rotating this way is going to be like your typical pronation. You're going to see that on a lot of guys' fastballs and whatnot. It's a very natural motion, but people, it's a very individual thing in terms of ability to actually access more range of motion.
And that Vulcan forces you to almost pre-pronate, right? That's the whole idea with it.
Yes, so it kills a ton of spin, which is huge because it allows gravity to create a lot of that depth that I can't do so with spin direction. You see a lot of guys with elite spin directions that can afford to spin changeups harder because it allows for them to create more movement with spin, right? If the ball's spinning the correct way, if you spin it harder, you're going to get more movement. If I can't spin it the correct way and I have something that profiles more towards like a fastball spin, I need to be able to create depth by killing spin. So that's kind of why I chose that grip and stuck with it for as long as I did, because I knew that was going to be the route. If I wanted an effective changeup at some point in my career, that was going to be the route to to get there.
How would you explain spin direction to the average fan? Is it simply just where the nose of the ball is going, right? So like on a four-seam fastball, you're looking up, curveball would be down, changeups. It's a little counter too, but the spin direction generally is to the side, right? You want that as lateral as possible.
Yeah. So for I guess in English terms, right? If you're picturing a right-handed pitcher, you get a perfect backspin fastball. That's going to be like your 12 o'clock spin direction. If you get a perfect side spin slider, that's going to be about 9 o'clock. So like you said, wherever the nose of the ball is going, your perfect side spin changeup is going to be 3 o'clock, and your perfect top spin curveball is going to be 6 o'clock. So that's kind of the metric that I use to, I guess, look at. You look at guys with changeups that are south of 3 o'clock. Those are the guys I can talk about where more spin's going to create more depth.
And there's a big difference, obviously. Kyle Hendricks is the guy at the major league level who throws 2 changeups, and then you're a guy who's the Vulcan, which is a very different changeup. Changeups seem like such an odd pitch. I feel like it's something everyone is always working on, and there's so many different variations of it. Where did you learn that grip? Who was a coach with in the organization that you work with that kind of polished it up? Yeah,
so I got to give a special shout out to my buddy Alex Valasek. He's a junior college pitching coach out in California now, but I got the chance to work with him while he was a part of Driveline Baseball. I got the chance to work with him in 2019 in the Christmas break. He was living out in Washington, came home to Michigan for a couple weeks for the holidays, and I was fortunate enough to be able to work with him a couple times. And this was kind of something that he showed me, and it stuck, man. So him and I are still friends to this day, man. I owe a lot to him, honestly.
I love it. Let's dig even a little deeper. Seam shifted wake. Obviously a topic that could take 20 minutes to talk through, but one that I want to try to distill as much as we can. How do you envision seam shifted wake? Because I know we've talked in the past when you were in South Bend, and you were like, hey, man, I get some seam shifted wake on my slider, seam effects, whatever you want to call it. But it's funny to talk to coaches and have them explain, and then talk to players of like, hey, I could see this moving, but it's still something that on the data side we're figuring out how to track and how to value and how to train.
Yes. So I think for me, I would categorize it as the difference between the eye test versus what the Rapsodo is telling you. A technology like the Rapsodo is a little bit limited just because of the technology in itself, being a camera-based system. It only being able to cover the first 45 feet or whatnot, you're not going to get that last little movement, that last little part of the movement profile in the pitch. But when it comes down to it, I mean, every pitch type has a little bit of seam-shifted wake. It all depends on the seam orientation and whatnot. I mean, you're starting to see it in sweeper sliders, even curveballs too. So it's not, I think it became popular with a two-seam. But it's not. In no way is it limited to that.
And you've always had that slider. You mentioned it there very briefly. Can you just show us the grip on it? And do you have any special cues with it? It's a pitch with a ton of spin, ton of lateral movement, a little bit of depth too.
Yes. So a little bit unorthodox. Again, you see a lot of guys throw that slider with both fingers together here, or even up on the seam over here. It was something I actually developed this mid-season last year. So I was just throwing it every outing, every bullpen, trying to get it right. But the cue here, just leveraging these two seams. So you can kind of see my fingers aren't directly on the seams; they're a little bit inside the seams here. So being able to leverage those seams and try to come around, try to stay in the natural slot, but come around the baseball a little bit more, be able to spin it that 9 o'clock spin direction we're talking about. Just trying to kind of envision that, or just trying to make that spin kind of come to fruition is really the only cue I had. So just kind of ran with it from there.
What's the goal for your mix this year in terms of fastball, changeup, slide? You don't have to give away too much, but you come out of this season and you look at your stats specifically on the pitch movement side, pitch velo side. What would you love to see?
Yeah, I think the question for me, it's not the stuff. Right? I think every conversation that we have, the stuff is not the issue. Like I said, it doesn't take a genius to go look at my stats from last year and see that I did struggle with command a little bit. So the goal for this year in terms of usage, I want to throw whatever is going to get me strikes. I want to attack hitters a little bit more. I want to be more aggressive within the zone, and just kind of I want to let things happen rather than trying to force them to happen.
And command is kind of a funky thing. Again, we've had so many discussions about this. Sure. You have a little bit of an idea of potentially adjusting the catcher a little bit to compensate for where you might be missing. I know you've caught, or you had a ton of guys catch you last year, which is one of those things that's kind of inevitable in the minor leagues. But obviously every catcher has their own tendency, and you kind of had an idea to potentially start to bring everyone to a more of a central target, which I know is something some other organizations have done with specific pitchers. How do you think that will help you?
Well, I think it's going to allow the average miss to take me to the edges of the zone. If I'm trying to spot this fastball, at the knees and arm side, my average miss, I'm allowing for a lot of area on my arm side that's going to be in that ball territory. But if I move that target middle every single time, then there's going to be room to miss on any side, and I'm still going to be within the zone. So the hope is that translates to more strikes, because that would be a lot cooler.
And you fix the command issue. So is that the main goal? What's the goal for this season? Very top line.
More strikes. More strikes, throw hard, just be free and easy, and enjoy it more. and enjoy it more. Don't be so hard on myself.
I love it, man. Lift big, throw hard. Thanks a ton to Max Bain for joining us. Always great to have you at camp. We're excited to see you jump through levels, and best of luck this season, man.
Thank you for having me on today, guys. Appreciate it.